Hello, Dr. Glenn. This time I'm going to start explaining the pedagogy part of Tpack. I chose the infograph because I like, one, the long, skinny layout, and two, I think it's organized simply and nicely. And then I laid out pretty clearly what they should do and that they should include a quote, so I know they're not just kind of saying it in their own words. They can also relate it to something from the tweets that they read. As far as pedagogically sound things for the podcast, I decided to ask the comprehension questions in English, because I kind of want to check that they understand the true meaning of what's going on, and there's some pretty deep metaphors, and so I wanted to check that. I also think that just having them come up with 4 themes that are important from the podcast is a good number. It's not too many, it's not too few, and I think that having them set up in just pairs of 2 to do the interview is going to make it a lot better. As far as content, so the content of the podcast is basically Cuba, from a change from the 60s to the 90s and what happened, and a lot of it is in regards to childhood and how everything was done for you in Cuba and you just went with it, to this adulthood where this same child, the person that's speaking, she finally gets her first bike and what that's like, and kind of the story of not only receiving 3 toys, and those 3 toys are restricted to when the government and what the government could give you, to finally getting a bike and having that sense of freedom even though the economy was falling apart. This relates very well to what they study in their history classes. It's civics and economics this year, and last year they did a lot with the dictatorships in my class in South America, so some of this stuff should be familiar to them. They've also looked at the falling of the Berlin Wall in their history classes, which this kind of connects to, as well as the start of Fidel's kind of revolution and trying to return to the socialism that it once was. So kind of pulling on that prior knowledge would be good. I will probably add something in, what do you already know about Cuba as a pre-teach sort of thing, and maybe show them some images of Cuba, and then ask them what they know, what they think is happening, kind of like what we did in the summer course, where it was an image and then they think about it and wondering what's going on and what questions do you have. I think that could be a really cool tool to build this up. As far as the tweets pedagogically about the bicycling in Colombia, I chose a lot that will interest them. One is about the climate week that they just participated in, so pulling on that prior knowledge, and others are videos of bikes avoiding cars, and they're just really modern, and I think the kids will connect to it well. To help them, I will kind of show them a how-to Twitter tutorial, because I'm not sure if they've used Twitter, and how they read the comments and everything like that, and really just focusing on words that are already in the unit, biking, riding a bike, cars, going places, city. I think that is set up well with my unit. Okay, the last one is technology, which I actually already talked about in pedagogy. The Canva Website I just love. I think it's really user-friendly. It's not going to detract from what the kids are trying to say, and also they have agency in the template they choose as long as it is that long skinny infographic. And I think it'll show either their personality or it'll show that it's related to transportation and how they view these tweets in Colombia. And then the technology, there's kind of two parts to this technology. The Podcast-O-Matic, where they record their podcast, but then also having listened to the Radio Ambulante NPR podcast called Toy Story, it kind of shows how podcasts are run. It's really like this, then this, then this, and then comment on this, and it all kind of builds together. So I'm hoping that I don't set it up too much so it's not presentational, but that there is that interpretive piece, and I think that's going to be really great for me as a teacher to listen to, like them kind of struggling through, like, what should I ask next? What question would fit in next well based on their previous response. I think it's going to be great. So that's why I chose Podcast-O-Matic, because it will feel like, they don't get to start and pause. They just have to, boom, keep going. And I will hear the errors, and I think that makes it really human and a really cool thing to watch. Thanks.